Welcome to Inspire Me Forward. My name is Linda J. Watson, and I am the founder and host of this beautiful series of conversations. This is a space where guests from all walks of life and every corner of the world share their stories. We talk about life, love, and everything in between. And now we are on season 7. Before we dive in, I would like to share that the topics discussed in this season may be sensitive in nature and triggering to some. Please do take care of yourself and seek support as and if needed. So, the title of this group of episodes is Positive Foundations for When Life Throws a Time Shift. There are times in our lives when our relationship with time changes. Sometimes it's a slow burn, sometimes a U-turn. Your perspective of time might evolve into a space where you value it more. Perhaps it speeds up, or maybe it slows down. However you are affected, life does throw time shifts. And in those moments, we are called to look for positive foundations, resources that help us hold our bearings and tend to our resiliency, helping us stay grounded and not float away altogether. This season, we will speak with folks who have experienced those time shifts and stayed upright through the dynamic force, the change, and the landing. We will discuss what kept them standing. What did they hold on to so they could settle in to that new time perspective with a gentle heart and feet firmly on the ground? Welcome to season 7 of Inspire Me Forward. Let's talk time shifts. But before we introduce our guest today, let's take a moment of quiet to land in this space. Let our day go for just a while and be present for the wisdom that is offered in this episode. All right. So, coming off that moment of quiet and silence, I hope you are present and have your heart open to whatever wisdom might be here for you in our conversation today about time and a time shift. And my guest today is Shirley Bhutto. And Shirley, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself.
Why, thank you. Yes, I'm Shirley Bhutto. I am a certified mindset coach and podcaster. I'm still in the corporate world full time right now, although trying to get out of the corporate world and more into the podcast and mindset and life coach world. Because that's really, I feel like that's my passion and my purpose at this point in my life. Um, and going into the time shift that we've been talking about, I look at time shift tying into what is important in your life and your values and where are you spending your time and your energy. And that's really when I think about time shifts, I think about those moments in my life where, okay, I don't want to spend my time and energy on this anymore. I want to now spend it on something else. And for me, that moment really started as a lot of people probably did with COVID, because it just our worlds changed so much in that short amount of time, but seemed like it was forever at the same time. Um, and for me, there was so much negativity in the world, and of course, rightly so. People were afraid They were scared. They weren't sure about their jobs or their lives or and their own health. And there was just so much negativity online and out in the world that I just felt I needed to offset that somehow. And so part of me getting my mindset coaching and my life coaching, I just started reading a lot more, listening to podcasts, and I started posting Monday through Friday. I just started posting a positive post, and I've been doing it ever since. So
Nice.
no sales, no politics, no religion, no, just a short little positive post.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was on my own personal page. It was just a quote of some sort, just to again offset what was going
I
on
love it.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just started, not necessarily unfriending anyone because everybody's got their own opinions, but just started unfollowing and not listening. I didn't want to absorb that negative energy anymore. Um, so I just tried to start offsetting it, and then that led into the podcast that I started a couple years ago, and just kind of kept on going with it because I felt like I had more to say than just the quote.
Yeah.
So I started this podcast, which was just 20 minutes or less, so that I can again share just how do you move forward? How do you get out of that negative space? How do you create your own movement so that your time changes as well?
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, and that um, after a few years of doing that, I felt myself changing. I was learning so much more about myself. I was becoming more open to just everyone else and wanting to help in some way. And I just felt myself changing as a person.
Sure.
And I think that led to there was a few things that kind of was going on in my marriage at the time.
Mhm.
So about four years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I got divorced after
Mhm.
35 years of being together.
I, I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold you there for a second,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
let's jump back into that because I want to give you the floor and go through. I'm gonna give you the
Absolutely.
space to do
Sure.
all of that. I
Sure.
love what you said about time and like offsetting time,
Yes.
and like I love like that. Sort of the COVID was like there are times when we feel a collective shift in time
Yes.
and or we feel a collective deep breath like something's happened.
Yes.
And I think it was an election or something once, and there was you could feel the tension just in the world, and
Yes.
then things went for the positive. I can't remember which one it was, and there was this collective deep breath,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
time just held. And so it was like at COVID there was like this time
Yeah. Everybody was in limbo.
stopped for a while. Yeah. And then all of a sudden time moved. It's like,
Yes.
oh, we got to do this. We got to do this.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
everybody started to change because there was this um, something happened. And there's a saying I found the other day in one of my journals, and it was every generation has a moment of of collective change.
Yes. Yeah.
9/11,
Yeah, I
things
was
like
going to say
that.
9/11. I feel like we're going through it now too.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like there's a lot going on just in the last few years, and now, of course,
Mm.
with all of the the what's going on overseas right now.
Yeah.
We're now getting into another shift of people being a little bit uncertain and
Mhm.
afraid, um, and who's coming together to help that? Who's
Yes.
now using their time to either feed the flame or help offset?
Help offset. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
and I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
a good
we're
word.
doing that again of okay, it's going to
Yeah.
be okay, everyone. Let's all rally. Let's help each other through this.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So there's a quote here I've used in the last several. We've posted one of season 7, and the other one will be up next week. But I've used this quote. I want to read it again because I think it sort of ties it all together. And if we tie back to it, that's great. If we don't, that's fine. It says, "Time is not one thing. It does not work in only one direction or at one pace, but it is undeniably one of the greatest structures by which we can define, experience, and create our existence, including our connection with each other.
Yes, yes.
Such a powerful statement.
Well, and I feel like too, time, it isn't just this point in time. Sometimes you're going back in order to go forward. And,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so and sometimes you need to reflect and
Yep.
in order to learn that, those things that you go through, you don't learn from them. You just think that, oh, it's a horrible thing that I just had to live through. Why? Why me? What happened? But it's only with time that
Mm.
you're able to look back and say, oh, you know what? I'm that was
Um,
painful, but I'm kind of glad it happened because I learned this
I learned from
or
it.
I grew in this way.
Yeah.
Um, so I really think that, yeah, time is it's so it moves
Yeah.
like a river, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
sometimes sometimes you've got the paddle and sometimes you're just, okay, I guess we're gonna hit some of these rocks and hopefully bounce off.
Just make sure you have your life jacket on. That's all.
Exactly, exactly,
I love
exactly.
that. And my
Yeah.
first guest said to her time was mercurial.
Yes,
And that sometime that personal feeling of time when sometimes time feels fast. And there
yes,
are days when time, oh, is this day going to ever end?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
it's our perception of it, not the actual linear
yeah,
piece of time. Yet, you look at ancient cultures or indigenous cultures who see time not as linear, but as circular, as the seasons
yes, the
and as
season,
the sun and the
right?
moon. And so it's a fun subject to play with. And I like how you're in your opening there, you really stepped into the like some of our positive foundations we need. And I love your podcast for that because it really, what I've listened to is you really speak about those positive foundations
Yes,
that
yeah,
we need when
yeah.
time does shift.
And it's not something that just happens.
Mhm.
There's time involved there, you know,
Yeah,
for you to make shifts, for you to move to more positive space, to do more positive things, to manifest whatever it is that you want in your life. You
yeah,
need time to do that. It's got to be consistent. You've got to actively use your time in
yeah,
ways that help you move forward.
exactly.
Um,
It's
yeah,
like energy, isn't it? It's like energy is
it,
always there. It's just energy shifts and energy changes, but it's always there. I never
yes,
thought of that.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to give you the floor now to let's have you talk about the catalyst that really brought you through these time shifts and sort of like you just spoke about, going through a divorce. So like
Mhm.
I'm going to give you the floor now to sort of walk us through for
Yeah,
you.
yes, had been married for a very long time, and I always say I had a beautiful, wonderful marriage until I didn't. Um, and it just we just kind of grew in different directions. What I thought was important and valued, again, I had shifted. I had done a lot of learning and reading and really reflecting on my life and on life in general and what was really important. And again, no slam against my ex-husband. It's just we were moving in different directions. Um, and while I knew that the divorce was the right thing for me, I definitely had to, I've always been a very, very independent, strong-willed person. Um, I was pretty much on my own and moved out when I was 16. Just did a lot, took care of myself. I felt, always, even as a child, even though, my parents were there and everything, but I felt very much that I had to take care of myself. And I didn't realize um, that I wasn't okay alone until I was alone. Um, and so having that divorce and thinking, oh, again, knowing it's not going to be easy. This is a whole, I grew up in this marriage from, 21 to 56, really. So
Yeah.
major moments in my life there. Um, but in now having all this time to myself, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I don't really want to be with myself this much. There was a lot going on in my head that I didn't even realize was going on in my head.
Mm.
And I think, again, a lot of what I had done the years before and all of this learning and growing, it was opening up some things in areas that I didn't know I needed to open up and take a look at.
Mm. Yeah.
But sometimes we don't always want to go looking because then we have to face ourselves, and I wasn't quite ready to do that. So I started using my time outside of the house. I started having to, I didn't want to be at home alone. I could be alone in other spaces, but being at home alone
Mm.
was very difficult. And started not doing some, not very healthy things on, outside of the house, definitely drinking too much and just doing too many things to quiet myself.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't being quiet until I finally, probably about a year and a half after my marriage broke up. I kind of hit that rock bottom where I was like, okay, what am I doing here? These are,
Mm.
this is not what I value. This is not the person that I'm meant to be. But who am I meant to be? And why am I not okay being by myself?
Yeah.
So had to, that's why I say, in this time shift of, I had to kind of go back in order to go forward, because I had to really, as I was reading a lot of things and realizing, oh, okay, I've got some traumas here.
Mm.
Parents divorced. My parents were very, very young when they had us as kids. Parents divorced. I then, and the family kind of split up a little bit. My dad remarried to a wonderful woman, but at the same time, and then during that time of divorce, I also was molested by a neighbor down the road.
Mm.
Um, and you don't realize that all these things are hitting you until you hit a certain age, and which is why when I was 16 I moved out, because I think at that point, you I think that's why sometimes teenagers are a little bit screwed up sometimes, is you hit that age of, wait, why did all these things happen to me? That wasn't right, that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to go back to, okay, why am I not okay with myself? Because I was dealing with this abandonment. I
Yeah.
felt unsafe and abandoned as a child. And again, my parents did the best that they could.
Of
They're
course.
wonderful parents, but they don't realize, we're all raised by screwed up adults. None of us, very few anyway, are raised by people who have gone through what I'm now going through of, I feel so much more evolved and enlightened, and I can let things go so much easier. But
Mm.
that's not who I was as a parent, and that's not who my parents were. And
Mm.
so I think part of, as we grow and age, we have to undo and unlearn some of the things that
Mm.
we have taken from our childhood. And I realized that I was definitely a mothering type of wife, and I happened to perfectly line up with a husband who wanted to be mothered. So it was great when it worked, because I want to go mother, you want to have a mother, this is perfect. Until I didn't want that anymore.
Mm.
And I realized, I think I need to mother myself a little bit. I think I need to do the work and figure out what my triggers are, why I feel so abandoned at times. And
Yeah.
again, it kind of went back to those years, and um, I was able to then look at, I control a lot of stuff in my life, or I attempt to.
Mm.
And I had control over the pretty much the entire marriage, which again worked when it worked. But I realized that I'm taking control because I don't trust anybody to take care of me. And
Mm.
B, if I take control, well then you're not going to leave because now you need me. Um, and so I had to, again, in order to move forward and realize that, well, I don't want to repeat those patterns. I don't want to be a mother to an adult man. I want to be a partner.
Yeah.
Well, how do I make sure that I don't repeat that? And so I really had to pay attention to, okay, when am I mothering? And when am I feeling abandoned? And then taking care of myself to say, you know what? Just because somebody's got plans and doesn't want to spend time with you, that doesn't mean they don't want to spend time with you. It means maybe they've got something else in their lives that they have to do. Maybe
Yeah.
something else, that is important to them. And I wouldn't want somebody to tell me that I can't do what's important to me.
Yeah.
So I certainly don't want to do that to another person. But unraveling that
Yeah.
and changing my behavior took the time. It
Yeah.
took quite a few years. And at least now I know when I get triggered. I know when I feel it. And I can say, all right, Shirley, you're okay. You're not being abandoned. This just happened and you're fine. It's
Yeah.
discomfort.
Yeah.
But you're not going to die from discomfort. You're going to learn and grow from it. You're going to have another piece of enlightenment there of, why am I still feeling this way?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Discomfort, then enlightenment.
Yes. Yeah. You can't
Yeah.
grow in the safe spaces. You
No,
know, you've
no,
you've got to, it's just like any muscle, once you got to pull it just a little bit past
of course.
where you
Yeah.
think it can go and feel that pain a little bit, but then feel
Yeah.
growth.
Yeah. I want to go back to the piece there's so much, and thank you for sharing that. There's a lot in there. So let's start unpacking. You talked about, we don't always realize these things have happened to us until it becomes sort of like a collectively, all of a sudden we're like, why am I so screwed up? We're,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, can we like? I'd love to unpack that a little bit. It's a really interesting way of thinking about it, is that it becomes sort of a collectively this, then this, then this, and this, and we tend to compartmentalize things where
Yes.
it becomes this collective learning opportunity, really, in the end, if we are coming at it from that lens.
And that's exactly it. You have to be open to the fact of, when yes, okay, we can sit there and say, well, why am I so screwed up? Well, it's not that we're screwed up. It's that we've learned certain behaviors, certain patterns
Mhm.
from whatever, whether it's teachers, whether it's parents, whether it's partners. We've learned certain things because, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. But that may not be what is right for me. But you don't really know what's right for you because your head is so filled with everybody else's thoughts and shoulds and must do
Yeah,
this and whys. And until you figure out your own, well, why do I do this? This doesn't really make me happy. Okay, well, let me look at that.
yeah.
um, and looking at yourself openly and honestly,
Hmm.
it is the hardest work that you can ever do, but it is the most rewarding and fulfilling work that you can
Yeah,
ever do.
yeah.
And it's like I said, it's unfortunate that most of us don't do that work until we're, I'm going to be 61 in a couple of weeks. And
Hmm.
really, I started doing a lot of this work in my late 50s. Um,
Yeah.
but I think we spend, the first third of our lives are learning what we're supposed to do. I feel like the middle third
Mhm.
in that time is, okay, we're doing for everybody else. And maybe we're starting to learn a little bit about ourselves so that
Hmm.
that last third can be, okay, how do I use all this now? How do
Yeah,
I now help shine the light behind? Because
yeah,
to me, that's why we go through a lot of what we go through, is so that we can shine the light and say, you know what, I've been there. Let me help. Let me show you the way out.
yeah,
Maybe this,
exactly.
and maybe it's not the same way, but
Yeah,
at least help light the path for you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking back to a piece I just wrote a couple weeks ago, but there's a sentence in it, and I thought this is because it talks about pressure, like that outer pressure, we have to do things, but there's that inner pressure from within. And I like the statement is there is outer pressure and inner pressure, but I posit that most inner pressure was outer pressure to start.
Mm.
So most
Mhm.
pressure we put on ourselves was actually somebody else telling us something happened to us, or
Yeah,
society has told us we have to. The shoulds, the must haves, like you said.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So most of
yeah.
our inner pressure is, but at a certain age, we start, like you
Well,
said, that
and
starts to change.
yes, it does. And I also think too that you have your own inner pressure because of that outer pressure that you've taken in. So you may have your own inner pressure of, but this is who I really am, but
Yes,
I'm not
absolutely.
allowed to be. And especially, I think we as women, we tend to take on and do for others.
Of course.
Again, it's that natural, whether it's the mother, the caregiver,
Yeah.
we tend to want to do for everybody else. And I think society,
Yep.
expects that too. And
Mm,
I think when you finally get to that point where you have your own voice and you're
hmm.
able to use your voice and
Yep.
say, no, I really don't want to do that anymore. And then again, hopefully you have a partner that is willing to grow with you and willing to say, you know what? Okay, well, let me take on more. Let's figure this out. And if not, then we need to be able to have that courage to be able to say, you know, maybe spending the rest of your life with one person isn't the right thing. I mean,
Hmm.
my husband at the time, we always said we were soulmates. Well,
Hmm.
I don't think you necessarily have one soulmate. You
Yeah.
know, I had that soulmate for that time, and
Yeah.
maybe you have another soulmate, and maybe it's a friend soulmate, maybe it's a different kind of
Hmm.
soulmate. But my soul, to me at that time, my soul was not getting what it needed,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I was feeling very unsafe and not okay. And
Yeah.
so I had to, and I went to therapy for a little bit because my
Mm.
natural reaction is either screw you, I don't need anybody, or let me take care of everybody. I can't have a divorce and do this to everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I knew there was somewhere in the middle. I knew both of them
Yeah.
were not correct.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes you need some help to
Yeah.
help you figure that out and figure out your own truth.
Absolutely. An interesting comment you made there that I can't do this to everybody. And I think we all, when you're going through the thoughts of maybe getting a divorce, it is, what is this doing to everybody else? As opposed to, well, what is
Absolutely.
this doing for me? And
Yeah.
it becomes that, especially for women, it becomes this, what about me?
Yes. Yeah.
And we lose ourselves.
And I
And
and I still have those moments. I still have those
yeah,
moments where especially for him that, I feel, oh, maybe I could have done it differently. Maybe I could have,
yeah,
made it more gentle, and easier for him. I'm always like, maybe I
pause.
could have made it easier for him. But I thought, no, I had to do for me at that point because it was one of those, I felt like I was sinking and I didn't
Mhm.
want to go down with the ship. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, it was probably the most, I for a while I thought it was one of the most selfish things I did, but at the same time it was the one of the most selfless things that I did for myself.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you talked about awareness. First of all, I'm thinking we never, like, I've always been a worrier. That's been my lot in
Hmm.
life. And I am now, with awareness, able to catch it.
Yeah,
But I don't think I'll ever stop being one. It's
yeah,
just in my DNA, and it's part for 60 some odd years. It's been there. But now I can see it,
yeah,
understand it, and move on from it in a
yeah,
much quicker fashion. I
yeah.
think we often think we're going to get rid of things, but I don't think those things that are at all right are they're there.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think I think they say that the average person has like 60,000 thoughts a day, and like 80% of those are negative, and out of that, the majority are repetitive.
Hmm.
And that takes a lot of, even with all of the education that I've done, the learning that I've done, the meditation, the everything. I still have those moments where I'm on the hamster wheel in my mind,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
it's the story that I'm telling myself, and that's what it is. When you talk about time shifts and changing,
Mm.
it's those stories, and it's what weight we
Mm.
put to those stories. And if you just
Yeah.
change the perspective a little bit, I know when I was finally kind of getting better being alone, one of
Yeah.
the things I said, you know what, I'm not going to stop going on trips or doing things just because I'm by myself. I'm
Yeah.
going to start doing things that I want to do, whether I have that person there or not. And
Mhm.
so a few times I would either buy a couple of concert tickets, and sometimes I went to the concert by myself and was like, all
Mhm.
right, I'm going to do this. But I remember right after New Year's, I'd always wanted to go to New York City to see the lights
Mhm.
right after Christmas.
Yeah.
And I thought, why am I waiting? So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I booked a hotel. I went the morning that I woke up. So it was actually New Year's. So it was January 2nd. I woke up in my hotel room and I was laying there thinking, oh, this is going to be awful. Like, why did I do this? Why did I just spend all this money? And I had planned all these different kinds of museums I was going to go to. And then I was laying in bed and I thought, okay, if I was on a work trip, would I be feeling this way? Would I be laying in bed saying, oh, I can't believe I'm all by myself? No, I'd be sitting there going, I've got a couple of days. I'm going to go to this museum. I'm going to go to that museum. I'm going to go do all these things. I'm going to
Ah,
eat wonderful
nice.
food.
Yeah.
And so it was just changing that perspective
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
just, okay, I'm going to go do this. As soon as I got to my first museum to go check out, within like a half an hour, I was just like, oh, this was a great idea.
Awesome.
Because I didn't have to say, oh, you want to go look at that now? I could go do what I wanted. And when there
Hmm.
was crowds, it was so much easier to move and navigate around with one person in New York
Yeah.
City navigating around those crowds.
Yep.
So really, sometimes you just kind of have to change that thought and just
Mm-hmm.
give it a new story. And
Mm. I love
it
that. Yeah.
and it can just help you move in a different way,
Yeah. I love that. Give it a new story.
because that's all it is. We're just sitting there saying, I'm miserable, I'm lonely, no, I'm on a work trip and I'm going to enjoy every bit of this.
Exactly. Yeah. I think somebody asked me recently once, in the work I do, it's like, well, what do I do if somebody gets stuck sort of in their thoughts? And I'm like, well, suggest that they maybe stand outside of themselves
Yes.
and look back on the situation. So similar, like that perspective and go, would you be willing to stand over there, metaphorically,
Yes.
and look back on this and see it from a different lens? And oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard
It's
to
similar. Yeah.
reflect on ourselves
Yeah.
because our brains don't want us to be critical. Our
Mhm.
brains don't, even though we're critical of ourselves, but our brains don't want us to kind of face that honesty to say, you know what, you're a little bit screwed up right now because of this and this, and you've got to
Mhm.
make some changes.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's easier, like you say, if you were talking to a friend, like what would you say to a friend if they were in that situation?
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes they say just like writing it down, or the whole visualization.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's easier because then it's out of your brain and you're looking at it like a third person.
Exactly. Exactly. So this the time when you felt that the aloneness
Hmm.
was was a challenge. What were some of the emotions that you sort of went through with that? I think it's an important piece to touch on for folks.
I think For me, it was definitely, there was that feeling of, am I worthy enough?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I had never thought, I've always been type A. I was a great student in school. I, again, always took care of myself, always took care of everything. So for me to be in my mind thinking, I'm not enough.
Mm.
Um, and that was, I kind of had to look at that and say, okay, why am I not feeling enough?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I ended up having to really start thinking about, okay, well, what can I do in my home to make me feel better, make me feel, I started painting. Um, just the creative part of, okay, I need to do something that makes me happy. That's something that looks good, that is fun. So I started
Mm.
doing like pour paintings, um, and just being more creative, um, purposely fighting those feelings of, I got to get out of the house. I
Mm.
got to go do something.
The
And I
run.
would
Yeah.
sit and say, no, let me get a good book to read. Let me make, a nice cup of hot chocolate. Let me do something else, and force myself to move through that feeling of, I'm alone again. I'm
Yeah.
I'm alone and I have no one to take care of me. But at the same time, I never allowed anybody to take care of me. So that was one of the things that I really had to, to go into a new relationship. I thought, man, I have got to allow myself to be completely vulnerable, which I
Mhm.
have never allowed myself to do.
Mm.
I've got to be vulnerable. I've
Yeah.
got to trust that I'm going to be okay, and that I'm going to make good decisions, and that this person, I'm going to be able to trust this person.
Yeah.
Man, that was that.
That's tough.
Again, still, I'm 3 years into this relationship, and I still have my moments where I have to sit and go, okay, you're fine. Um, but allowing
Yeah.
someone else to take care of you, at the same time making sure that you're whole. That
Hmm.
whole, I was talking to somebody and I said, I hate that the Jerry Maguire, the you complete me.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
complete myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You add to it. And
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think, so many of us, whether you're, no matter what gender you are, go into another relationship because
Hmm.
that's what feels right, is to get
Hmm.
into a relationship, because not having, you don't feel loved unless there's someone there to love you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've got to, if we could all just take some time and really love ourselves, and
Hmm.
really get comfortable with ourselves, so that you know what you're not going to put up with, you know what you're not going to accept, and
Hmm.
you know your value and your worth. And when you give off that energy,
Hmm.
people feel it, and the wrong people don't necessarily come and stay with you.
No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Because it's real energy. It's authentic.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So the difference, how would you then define being like, was this involved? Like there's alone and loneliness.
I say, there's a difference between solitude and loneliness.
Okay.
Solitude is power, loneliness is fear.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I found my solitude, and
Nice.
I found the power in that. And, you know, being lonely with so many people around you. And that was the thing. I've got so many
Mm-hmm.
great friends and family, around me. And yet it was probably one of the loneliest times that I felt. And that's what I had to address is, why am I feeling lonely when I have all of this? And it's again, that's all internal to you. It's the loneliness because you're not, you're not really right with yourself.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
once you really get right and comfortable with yourself, it's no longer loneliness, it's solitude. It's
Yeah.
I like this
Oh, I like
being
that.
alone in power versus in fear.
Oh, that is very wise words there. I love that.
You.
Um, so that is a really good segue into talking about like a support system, especially when you're practicing being alone and your solitude.
Yeah.
How did your support system, how did that work for you? What did you have? How did you call upon them?
Well, for the longest time, I didn't, I kept again convincing myself and everybody else. Well, I don't think I convinced anybody else, but I tried to convince myself that I was okay. I'm fine, I got this. I'll work through this. Because again, that's how I always had attacked things, was on my own.
Yeah.
But I've got some amazing. I mean, my girlfriends, my friends. I'm very very lucky. My friends are from like third and fourth grade and middle school, and we still all get together and hang out together. And my family, nothing is off limits as far as what we talk about. But I definitely, I kind of had to hit that rock bottom of realizing that I just had this kind of facade. um and I was wearing a mask of, yeah, I'm fine, and everybody was like, yeah, we knew you weren't fine, but we were giving you your space to kind of break down a little bit. And that's exactly what I had to do, was just kind of break down. And I started letting it be okay that if I was talking to one of my friends and I just started crying about something, I'm like, you know what, here it is, sorry, but the tears are coming, and let me tell you what I'm feeling right now. And so it was just being okay with not being okay,
Mhm.
and letting others know that and say, you know what, I'm gonna be okay. I'm just not okay right now. Um,
Mhm.
and this is what I need. I need you to not ask me anymore, or I need you to ask me questions. I need you to, I need
Yeah.
to just like pretend and go watch a movie right now, or I need to just have a full on conversation. And so
Mhm.
they kind of picked up on my cues, and I would tell them what I needed. Um, but again, it was allowing myself to need, um, and allowing myself to, again, not be okay in that moment, knowing that, okay, I gotta, it's that you gotta, in order to heal it, you have to feel it.
Yeah.
So I had to feel all those things and let it just pour out of me, so that I could be like, okay, I'm clean inside now.
Okay, now.
Let me see how I can fill myself back up now.
A good emotional shower.
Yeah, exactly. A good cry. I did a podcast on,
Exactly.
like, there's nothing like a good cry.
Oh,
And sometimes you don't even have to have a reason. It's just, you know what? I haven't cried in a while. I just need a good purge.
but we aren't we as a society? I mean, I'm a crier. I was such a crier that, and don't shudder at this one. When I was a kid, we'd watch Walt Disney. I had two older sisters, and my mother and they would make bets on whether I would cry at the end of it. We laugh now, but I look
Yeah,
back on it from a different lens, going, "You just made the world not okay to
yeah,
cry."
yes,
And
yeah,
I often say I wish I
yeah.
could turn the taps off sometimes,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's funny, when both my kids went through stuff, divorce and things like that, and I didn't know about a lot of what they were going through
Mhm.
until really they were really through it. And I thought to myself, and I remembered saying to my mom, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, my kids and I, like, we talk about everything. There's nothing off limits. But when they were in trouble and when they were struggling, they didn't share with me. And I said to my mom, I'm like, what kind of mom am I that they don't even want to talk to me about what's going on in their lives and the times and struggles that they're going through? And she's
Mhm.
like, Shirley, she says, you show them what a strong person looks like. That's what they want to be. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, but I fall apart. I'm not always strong. And she says, yeah, but you never showed that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So that is the one thing that I don't try to protect my kid. I mean, my kids are not kids anymore. They're,
Mm,
31 and 36. So they're not kids anymore. They're adults. And
yeah.
so if I'm going through something or I'm feeling something, you know what? You're another adult person in my life that cares about me and I care about you and I should be able to share this. Um,
Yeah.
so we've got to stop treating our kids like kids when they're not kids anymore. Um, yeah, we sometimes we need
So
to stop
true.
parenting and just be okay, let's be friends
Human.
here. Let's
Yeah.
let's bounce this stuff off of each other.
Yeah.
So,
Good point. Good point. Another piece of important wisdom. So let's zoom out a bit and let's go back to our time shift. So there's so many situations in life that we've talked about, be it collectively or
mm,
individually or personally, that time, our relationship with time changes or evolves.
yes.
How are you, say, let's go back to, when you were before your divorce, was time even like, was it fat? Like, how was your relationship with then and how is it now?
Um, I feel like before I was divorced, I don't think that I was appreciating time as much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I don't think I was really appreciating how I was spending it and what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I am now in that point in my life where I am looking at, retiring soon. And I could stay working for a few more years, but I'm thinking, you know what, I don't want to because I want to use my time differently.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd like to think that I've got another 50 years left. If I, take care of myself
Mm-hmm.
and do all the right things, but I want to be able to use that time, and maybe I can slow it down a little bit
Mm-hmm.
by really focusing on the things that are important. I want to serve more. I want to be able to help more. I want to volunteer more. That's where I want to use my time, and so
Mm-hmm.
I want to slow it down enough to be able to say, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
want to do this, I want to do that. Now, hopefully, I don't do so much that now everything accelerates and I'm losing time. But I think I've got a much better handle on where my energy is going.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily slowing down time, it's making the right decision so that we can fill our time with
Yes,
those
it's
things that are important, perhaps.
absolutely. It's filling the time with the things that,
We're not
again,
like.
it's your purpose and your passion, and when your purpose and your passion come together, that's
Mm,
the most beautiful thing. And if you can use your time, to move your passion and
mm,
your purpose, and to me, that's just again trying to offset that negativity in the world, try to add a little bit of glimmer, a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of whatever
mm.
it is,
Yeah.
positivity, um, to just, even if it's just, when you think about the things that take time out of your day, just smiling at somebody, just,
Yeah.
telling the cashier, great glasses, just being kind to someone and being kind to yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
That to me is, using that time and energy in that way.
Yeah.
There's just not enough. There's not enough
Mm,
kindness and love and caring to go around,
mm,
especially with everything going on in the world where,
mm.
again, you just start having too much fear and then you have separation because, well, this one's not like me or this one thinks this way.
Yeah.
I don't really care what you think. Are you good to other human beings?
Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
if you're not, well, maybe I can somehow influence you in some way. Maybe I can give a thought, that a little nugget that might, grow a little seed that might
Mm,
grow something to say, oh, you know what, maybe I should change this. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
and if not, then that's okay too. But it's
Mm.
not going to stop me from trying.
Of course. Of course. Absolutely. So I want to jump in and talk about your podcast first, then I'm going to come back with a final question. So please tell us about your podcast. I love it. I've listened to a few episodes. I love it. It's
Oh,
just
good, good, good.
it's
Um,
short, it's powerful, and it's there. I love it.
Yes, so it's called Little by Little, Piece by Piece, and it's PEACE. And it's basically it's 20 minutes or less. Sometimes I bump right up against that 21 minutes, but it's 20 minutes or less. So it's my philosophy is you don't need hours and hours and days to change your life. Yes, you do need consistency,
Yeah.
but when you're just looking at getting through the day and working and you got kids or whatever it is that's taking up all of your time and energy, how do you find those small moments in your life
Mm,
to create some calm, to create some peace? Because
yeah.
all of our lives are crazy and hectic. And just those little microdose self-care is my philosophy. So that's the podcast. And then my Instagram and TikTok are both Piece by Piece 24. So that's PEACE. And again, that's just Monday through Friday, short
Right.
little, less than a
Yeah.
minute of some sort of positive post,
Mm,
just to get you thinking a different way. Because again,
nice.
it's those little micro doses over time and consistently that you
Mhm.
change your life.
So what have been your top two favorite ones to do?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I think letting go of ego is probably what, and probably because it was like the most impactful for me. And
Mhm.
when I say ego, I don't mean, oh, I think I'm so wonderful. Letting go of, you know what, when that person speaks negatively to me or reacts a certain way to me or cuts me off in traffic, that has nothing to do with me. There's
Yeah.
the ego is thinking, well, why did they do that to me? And why did they say that to me? That has nothing to do with you. They have their own lives. And however they react and whatever words or actions they took, it's based on what their experiences in their life. And when I was able to let go of that, and
Nice.
it's just so freeing to say, huh, other people just have stuff that they're dealing with, has nothing to do with me. And so if someone doesn't do what I want them to do or doesn't react the way that I want them to, I can move past that and go, all right, that's just their moment. I'm
Mhm.
okay with that.
Nice.
Um,
Good one. Yeah.
yeah, so that was probably the one that and just most of mine are I tend to kind of keep coming back to kindness. Just it doesn't cost
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
And again, just smiling at the cashier, again, make up that story when somebody cuts you off. I always say, boy, I hope grandma's still there. You're the last one. All the family's gotten there. Grandma's just waiting to hold on so that you can say goodbye,
You
or
never know. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So if you change your, the story again that you're telling yourself, you don't get so angry when someone cuts you off or is riding your bumper or whatever.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, those are usually the other one is just, repeating kindness, repeating um,
Mhm.
treating people just in a kinder, gentler way,
Sure.
knowing that we're all going through something. Everybody's
Yeah.
dealing with something. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your Instagram page looks like. I don't care, you know, how beautiful you look on whatever. We're
Mhm.
all going through something. And nobody's life is as shiny and as pretty as we put it out
Social
there.
media makes it out to be.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So just treat each other just a little bit kinder. That's all. And ourselves. And ourselves. We got to give ourselves some grace and kindness too.
Nice. So, well, that's a question I have for you because this is something I used to ask when I first started this number of years ago. I used to ask my guests, what is a random, or it doesn't even have to be random, an act of kindness that you have received,
And
and maybe even
kindness.
why, if that's there.
Ooh, that I've received.
Yeah. That
Um,
it sticks out for you.
I would say, when I was going through what I was going through. Um, you have some people that pick up on that you're not okay.
Mhm.
And just to again, you receive those acts of kindness of just somebody saying, "Hey, how you doing today? What's good today?"
Mm.
And so just having people notice that you're struggling, to me, is that right there can just change my outlook of, okay, someone else cares, a complete stranger
Yeah,
cares,
yeah,
just like I would want to care for them. And so when you
yeah.
get that back and forth, I mean, isn't that what life is really all about? Is that give and take of, let me help you while you're down, you help me while I'm down.
Yeah, the reciprocity for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Do you have
Absolutely.
one that sticks out?
Not in particular. It's like
You're gonna think of it after we're done.
yeah, we probably will. Yeah, no, I'm always looking. So, I
Mhm.
truly believe in synchronicity. I am
Sure,
always looking and open. And so for me, it's kind of a normal part of life to
sure.
get beautiful things because I'm always looking for those beautiful things.
Important. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You're open to them. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I expect them.
Oh, I love that even more. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So my last question to you is, how are you now? Like health-wise, life-wise, how, we've
How am I
we've
now?
talked through all
Yeah.
this path you've been on. How are you now?
Yes, I am amazing. I My life is how I choose it to be. Um, Whether there's good things that are happening or bad things that are happening, it's how I choose to take it in. Um, and I just feel so much stronger in myself.
Mm,
That again, it's wonderful to have a partner and have someone by your side, but that just adds to it. It's not the necessity. It's not what I need to be complete.
mm,
And so, yeah, no, and I'm looking forward to the more I've been doing my podcast, and that's
mm.
just taking up more and more time. So hopefully by this time next year, I will be retired and I'll be
Nice.
doing a lot more volunteer work, and just helping more and serving more and growing. You never stop
Yeah.
learning, never
No.
stop learning and growing. So yeah, that's it's a
Cool.
very positive outlook. I'm keeping myself healthy and fit and eating right and exercising and doing all of those things too, because
Nice.
darn it, I'm going to make it to 110.
All right. That's awesome. So for final words, you have dropped a lot of very strong wisdom in this hour. My goodness, I was starting to write it down. I'm like, I can't even write this fast. I have to go back and watch this and then write it down. You
I have
dropped
been told I speak quick, so
no, no, not. It's just
yeah,
so much.
yeah,
There's so much many powerful words that
good.
you've shared with us. So I guess what do you have final words for our listeners?
I would just say, um, everything that you need, you have.
Mhm.
You have it right there. I would really encourage whatever it is that you feel is holding you back or not allowing you to grow, dig into that. And if you need help to dig into it, then get that help. But dig into it because again, the work that we do on ourselves is the best, most rewarding, hardest work that we're going to do. But it will not only affect your life, but it affects all of those lives that you touch
Mhm.
around you. And so I would just say, you've got it. You can do it, and just keep going. Just keep working on yourself, little by little,
Little by
piece by
little, piece by
piece.
piece. There you go. Well, thank you, Shirley, so much for being with us. Like that, that's just I
Thank
love these
you.
conversations and I love just the wisdom that there's so much wisdom in this world.
Yes.
So
Yes.
much wisdom in this
Yes.
world.
Everybody's got to be open to it. Open to it
Exactly.
and offer it.
Exactly. So at Inspire Me Forward, we really believe that we inspire others when we share our stories. And in that way, we share this collective connection, this positive collective connection. And we let each other know that they're not alone in this big, beautiful world.
Absolutely.
There's the courage it takes to share one story might be the actually very thing someone else needs to open their heart to a brighter tomorrow. So we takes courage often to share stories, but we know that when we start sharing them, that's what somebody else needs. Somebody, and I've heard this for this podcast, is that somebody has turned it on and somebody shared it with them, and they're like, those are the words I needed to hear
Yeah.
right now.
Yes.
So important that and that leads me to that we always ask that people share it forward. I call it sharing it forward.
Yes.
It's like paying it forward, but share it forward, and because we just never know who needs to hear those words. So
Yeah.
from my heart to yours, and thank you, Shirley, so much for being here. Stay well, stay connected, and stay inspired.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, hold on. Make sure you want stuff right.